at age of 17 and retiring with 76 wins and 11 losses. And whereas Mr. Johnson's career spanned 4 decades, including 2 years as light heavyweight champ of the world, whereas Mr. Johnson began his career in the Navy, an underage enlistee, graduated professional matches in 1946 and defeated some of the best fighters of his era. Whereas Mr. Johnson gained repute for his superb fighting technique, elicited praise for his crisp, clean punches, doesn't get my arms perfect, beautiful position and strategic patience. Whereas Mr. Johnson was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1993. Whereas Mr. Johnson, too many whereas, Council. Whereas Mr. Johnson notably defeated former heavyweight champion Ezra Charles in 1953, before I was born, and Gustav Schultz in 1962. He has lost only 1 match prior to fighting Johnson. And whereas Mr. Johnson was born August 9th, 1929 in the Philadelphia neighborhood of Manayunk and lived most of his adult life in that area. Whereas Mr. Johnson comes from a family of boxers, including his father, Phil Johnson, and his son, who fought under the same Chuck Johnson and began the Golden Gloves champion. And whereas Mr. Johnson passed away, God rest his soul, we love you, Harold, February 19th, 2015. And let me say something before I go through more with Az. In his dying years and in his older years, Joe Mathis spent a lot of time at his bedside talking about the old days. Under the name Chuck Johnson and became Golden Gloves champion, whereas Mr. Johnson passed away February 19, 2015. It is fitting that we memorialize his accomplishments to the Philadelphia boxing culture and community with boxing facility honoring his name and career at Kendrick Recreation Center, which is located in Mr. Johnson's neighborhood of Manayunk, Roxbury. Whereas Whereas the Recreation Center was built in 1927, I said 29, and the second oldest recreation center in the city. 2013, the center was renovated with spacious, modern facility featuring a new ring fitted with mats, mirrors, modern ventilation system. Whereas Kendrick Recreation Center now housing 2 local boxing programs, the Manayunk Boxing Club and the Harold Johnson Boxing Club, and has supported hundreds of young Philadelphians in practicing the sport of boxing. Now, therefore, it is resolved by the council and City Councilman Curtis Jones, a member of council, our councilman, resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that the newly renovated boxing gym at Kendrick Recreation Center shall be renamed the Harold Johnson Memorial Gym, in honor of the International Boxing Hall of Fame legend who formerly resided in Manayunk neighborhood of Philadelphia. Further resolved, one last resolve. Further resolved that the engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to the family of the boxing legend Harold Johnson in evidence of the sincere respect and appreciation of this legislative body and many of his friends and fans. And there's a lot of people that are here. Charlie, good to see you, buddy. I can go. John DeSanto, boxing historian, and has literally paid for many a grave, not himself, but raised money for boxers' graves and tombstones, and just good guy in boxing, John. And I'd like to just, one lady who was a friend of my son's, and she has studied under the tutelage of boxing promoter Russell Peltz, a Temple graduate. She is here today. to honor Harold and to show you what the new generation of boxing looks like. And when she stands up, it's not going to look like a new boxing generation. Brittany, thanks for coming. I promise you, we're gonna get something. When Joe Mathis came to me and said, "Can we do this?" I said, "It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Let's do it. This is not a matter of me. This is a matter of we. We as a community, we as friends, we as family. Now there is a place, and this place that was built. This building was built for $200,000 back in 1929. And don't quote me on the actual year, but Councilman Jones is here, and he can tell you that it cost $200,000 to build this facility that's still being used. It cost $500,000 3 years ago to put a roof on it. So you can only imagine what it cost to put a boxing facility in this building. So Joe came to me, and he works hard. He works nights a week, and it's because his passion. What's the matter with our youth today? One word: passion. Until these kids find a passion to get involved in, they're spinning the wheels. They're looking for something. They're reaching out in one way or the other. They're ending up in the wrong direction. Crime, drugs, whatever. Does not discriminate. It's not black and white. It's not rich and poor. It happens here. In this neighborhood, it's averaged for the last year, and it's ended up to be at least 20 deaths by drugs. So it's facts. So with this program, Joe Mathis, and through his hard work, I might come here once a month, but Joe's here every day. And it's with Curtis Jones's hard work and us begging. We don't have to beg Curtis, he's a phone call away. But we ask, we get. So just put money in here for it doesn't discriminate. Boxing program, gymnast program. There's a great gymnast program here. The girls, the boys have a great program where they can. There's Sean Stevens is here. The friend from East Falls, they have their rec center down there in their neighborhood, and I mean they, I don't mean they as those people, but they as a neighborhood. So Sean has his children enrolled now in the boxing program, the gymnast program. This is a building for everyone. This building doesn't discriminate black, white, rich, poor. Anybody can walk in this building and play basketball, play whatever it is. So without further ado, I probably said too much. Joe Mathis, the instructor, my friend, love him to death, is here, and he has taken this program to a new level, and he will tell you what goes on here on a daily basis. My dear friend, Joe Mathis.
You put me on the spot. I wasn't expecting to be talking. I want to thank everybody for coming. I mean, to see Jackie Fraser and Dick Fuller and so many people here, boxing people, John. I just, I'm thrilled. But it's about Harold. And he was an influence in this neighborhood for a long time. There's a lot of guys that aren't into boxing like I am that had Harold holding their hands and showing them how to throw them. And Malik Aziz is in Arizona. He sends his condolences. Couldn't be here for you Roxborough people. That's Beanie. But other than that, that's it. I mean, I understand the councilman has somewhere to go. They always do, these politicians, but we don't anyway. And
he's over here.
With no, he's hiding behind the podium. What it's about is what he brought with him and what he's going to do with it. And I'm going to pass it over to you, Cal. No, in fact, I got, no. Come on.
No. I just want to say that
once upon a time in another life, I thought I could fight. And I went up to Millersville, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, boxed for the Christmas Addicts Boys Club. And they were very genteel fighters. They were Marcus of Queensberry rules, all that good stuff. Came back and boxed 1 week at Tootsie Gordon's. It was over. I changed professions. I became a That was it. It was a wrap.
They didn't call me excuses for
Yeah. Pain, misery, and suffering were their mottos. It was one of Jim Dewey, and they meant every word of it. But when I had an opportunity, Bernie says he didn't have to tell me this and tell me that. Judge, he is an irresistible force in your ear. He will not stop until you understand his point of view. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, he is right. This is the second oldest recreation center in the city of Philadelphia. It has produced more athletes than any other that I know of and can document. What is important is this is a town square where people meet generationally. You look up in those trophy cases, you'll understand it. So when we had a meeting and talked about some of the needs for the Grand Old Ladies facelift, we decided to commit to that. $250,000 for a roof. We did new basketball courts out there. When we talked about the boxing, we had to negotiate that because it was so popular. You had 2 different factions and coaches who wanted more time. So we put a couple of shekels in there, approximately $60,000 or so. But the other side of the gym needed help, and so when you start cleaning up one end of a house, it shows how dirty the other end is, and you got to start cleaning. So we did. But what we are producing is not just athletes. We're producing character individuals that go on to live a good life. And that's what's most important. You can clap for that. But we wanted to dedicate the name, the gym, for someone, for an athlete that kind of exhibited what Roxborough was all about. And Harold Johnson, who was a resident here, fought here. He's the only fighter whose father and he were defeated by the same individual, who went on to be world champion, Jersey Joe Walcott. So it's not always who you beat, sometimes it's who you got beat up by. Ain't no shame losing to that guy. Lead it. So we're here today to dedicate it and make it official. And on behalf of the city of Philadelphia, can we get the Johnson family up here? Somebody got to represent. And can we have the praise of God? Can we have the praise of God? Can we have the first phase of Philadelphia boxing, the praise of God come up as well? It's all right. Who's the youngest too? Put him right here. Come on. Here we go. Give me another younger. Come on. Because this is what it's all about. It's not looking, it's not looking back, it's looking forward that matters. And every dollar that we invest in a recreation center, we get priceless amounts of rate of return from character individuals. So, on behalf of the city of Philadelphia, we are officially transferring the name to the Johnson Gym in memory of your father and grandfather and future fighters. Any future fighters among you? No. Give them a round of applause. No, not blessed.